are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College League Podcast. I'm Larck, able to take on Twitter here, talking about the latest Auburn athletics news. As we're going to talk about some football today, because I want to go over 5 Tigers that I think have the most to prove going in the next season. Auburn has a lot of, I don't want to say hype, but there's a lot of promise for what Auburn could be in 2025. You're in the 3rd year of a head coach. You're on probably the 3rd different play caller at this point. No one knows who's going to be calling the plays in 2025. Defense is legit, ? Spring ball, of course, starts very, very soon. But let's take this opportunity. 5 Tigers that I think have the most to prove. And, I mean, some of these might be a stretch, but I'm going to start off with Rayon Strader is one of my picks for who I think has the most to prove in 2025. So Rayon Strader, I mean, he's a transfer out of Miami, Ohio. He was a freshman All-American, and he was also the MAC cornerback of the year last year for Miami, Ohio. And, I mean, All-American by College Football News as well. I mean, when I say a lot to prove, I mean, it's just the step up from the G5 to the P5 level, or the G6 to the P4 level, however it kind of translates now. But from all film that I've seen on Rayon, he's really good. He balled out in the MAC, and he knows he can step up to the next level. Auburn has a fair share of good corners that are returning. Jay Crawford, of course, being one of those guys. Amon Langanis, of course, being another one. So Auburn now picked up a couple of DBs in the transfer portal class, but Rayon kind of the biggest name because of the prowess that he has, the awards that he's brought in. So when I say most to prove, when I talk about Rayon Strader, it's because of the step up in game. You have a lot to prove. You came from the MAC, and now you're in the SEC. And now whether or not the SEC wasn't the best conference in football last season, but consistently from top to bottom, they're the closest in talent. So whenever you got some SEC talent that was here before you, you got to do that extra level of play to get into the rotation early, get into the starting lineup early. I think Rayon Strader can do that. He was very good at Miami, Ohio, and I think he can translate his game. It's just all about, will he? And, of course, that's going to be what he has to prove going forward, especially with spring ball coming up. Now, another guy I have, a guy who is, I think everybody, there's one more freshman, or one more transfer on this list, but another guy I have is Perry Thompson. So, Perry Thompson, member of the Freeze 4 last year for the Tigers, 5 catches for 126 yards. Only saw a few games where he got catches. Alabama A&M had himself a game versus Alabama A&M. 2 catches for 82 yards, including a 70-yard touchdown that he had. Other than that, I mean, you didn't really see a whole lot of Perry Thompson last year. And whether or not there was a lot of speculation on whether or not he just didn't know the playbook. He came in late. He didn't come in like Cam Coleman did earlier on and got to practice during the bowl practices with the team. But how much of that played into factor here? So Perry next year should be in this rotation of wide receivers early. I mean, whether he's a starter or whether he's the first guy on, Perry Thompson should be more utilized than what we saw last year. And if not, I mean, that's a problem because Perry Thompson has a lot of talent, and it's hard for me to believe it's not because lack of trying. So Perry, I mean, when you talk about what Cam Coleman brings to the table in terms of speed, size, and catching ability, Perry Thompson equals the catching ability and also is more of a physical wide receiver. You got to get Perry Thompson just for the potential alone in this wide receiver room, and you got to get him on the field early. I highly believe that he is going to be a vital part, especially with the acquisition of the transfer portal and Eric Singleton and Horatio Fields. Auburn's wide receiver core should be more balanced than it was last year. Auburn relied heavily on Keandre Lambert-Smith, on Cam Coleman, and then you got some Malcolm Simmons sprinkled in there at times. You got to be more balanced next year because of the level of talent you have. Everybody in Auburn's wide receiver room is a threat to get these home runs, get down the field, get those 50-50 balls. And of course, Perry Thompson, he's got to be utilized. I think he has so much to prove because of what we didn't get to see of him his freshman year. We saw him ball out versus Alabama A&M. We saw him get some catches on down the line, but I mean, dude, there was some key moments where I just was like, "Where's Perry Thompson at? Why is Sam Jackson out here, not Perry Thompson? Why is Robert Lewis out here, not Perry Thompson?" And it's just moments like that. So, got a lot to prove, man. If I don't think I find it hard to believe that Perry Thompson didn't play because he didn't know the playbook. Because, in complete honesty, Auburn's playbook, Auburn's wide receiver route trees last year were nothing special. If you were fast, you were running a streak route or a post route. If not, you were running a slant or an out. I find it hard to believe it's because he didn't know the route tree. Find it very hard to believe. But yeah, I need to see Perry Thompson on the field in 2025, and got to get the freeze 4 out there just in general. I didn't put Bryce Kane on this list because I think everyone pretty much was aware that he was going to be a redshirted guy. But yeah, the freeze 4 all should see the field very much in 2025. But yeah, got to see more Perry Thompson going forward. Up next, keeping it offense for the remainder of this conversation, I got Dylan Wade returning for another year of football. So last year he moved from tackle to left guard and saw a lot more consistency there. And of course, the left side of the offensive line last year was not very good. Dylan had some good moments, but it wasn't extremely consistent. And of course, it's hard to be consistent whenever you have Percy Lewis next to you, and he was just god awful. So Dylan Wade just has a lot to prove in the sense of it's your last year, I believe. I don't know how many more years of eligibility players can have anymore, but you assume it's his last year of Auburn football at that. You have a lot to prove if you want to continue playing after Auburn. It's been inconsistent since you've joined the Tigers. So, I mean, you've had some bright moments. You've had a lot of great moments. You've opened up some holes in the middle offensive line whenever you needed to, but a lot of the offensive line should be on this list. I should have done like 4 of the 5 spots on my list is offensive linemen. Of course, guys like Tyler Johnson, Xavier Miller, guys like that also have so much to prove. I mean, this is just kind of a shoe-in for all offensive line. I just didn't want to put the entire position there. So looking at the success of Auburn's offense relies solely on how the O-line does. Tyler Johnson is going to be probably your left tackle. Xavier Miller's back at right tackle. Would you assume Jeremiah Wright would be your right guard? And, of course, Connor Liu, who's the best center in the country, in the middle. So, yeah, it should be a much better offensive line than we saw last year. It's a veteran-laden offensive line. You got some guys kind of put in there who have practiced very well. Tyler Johnson had some bright spots last year. Connor Liu is now going into his junior year. It feels like just last year he was a freshman, but yeah, Dylan Wade, you got some stuff to prove going into 2025. Now, for the second transfer on this list, got Jackson Arnold, which shouldn't be any surprise. Probably more of a surprise he's not number 1 on this list. But Jackson Arnold, of course, coming in from Oklahoma, a 5-star plus quarterback per On3, just a 5-star in general across the board as a high school recruit, came to Oklahoma, followed Jeff Lebby, if I'm not mistaken, and didn't really shine. I mean, he had moments where he shined, but he didn't play consistently at the level that they were expecting him to play. But how much of that is his fault? Last year for Oklahoma, I mean, it was just injury after injury after injury after injury in the wide receiver room. When they played Auburn, I mean, of course, Jackson Arnold didn't play that game. When they played Auburn, it was like wide receiver 5 through 7 were the guys that got put in. Now, regardless of the fact Oklahoma still won that game, Arnold did lose his job in the middle of last year and didn't play until the end of the year. And, he beat Alabama, which is a positive. Beating Bama will always be a positive no matter what. But he only played in 10 games last year, only started in 4 of those. he has so much to prove just in general to himself, to college football, to Auburn, to the fans, because of what we didn't get to see of him in Oklahoma. And again, I don't think it's his fault. I think Oklahoma was the worst place for him to go when Lincoln Riley left. Brent Venables, I just don't think is capable of bringing Oklahoma back to their former glory. And with the offensive coordinator left, I'm surprised Arnold didn't transfer out and go with them to Mississippi State, which was the other option he had to transfer to. Arnold has a lot of talent. He's a dual threat guy. He wants to play in Hugh Freeze's RPO offense. That was the big thing when he transferred to Auburn, was he wants to be in this offense. And, of course, it works to his benefit. It's an RPO scheme level offense with deep balls and home run threats all across the board. The wide receiver room is legit. Only big question mark is the tight ends. You don't know who's going to be playing at tight end or starting at tight end. You got some freshmen coming in. You got a transfer that came in. And, of course, you got some guys who are like Brandon Frazier, who are like 35 years old. And then, of course, your running back room is a stable of backs who can consistently get you the yards you need. Arnold has the tools around him right now. He has it. And it's up to Auburn to give him the plays that he needs, and it's up to him to play to his caliber, to play to his potential at Auburn. Because of, you look at the guys behind them. Deuce Knight's right there. If Deuce Knight impresses, we're talking about Deuce Knight as the backup quarterback. But, Ashton Daniels is no laughing stock either. I think he performed well over what we expected him to do at Stanford. Or, no, I don't say we, because I don't think he was really watching Stanford play. But, from the film I've watched of him, Stanford wasn't a good team. But he still managed to perform very well. Of course, you do what you can with what you got when you're at Stanford. But besides the point, there are guys behind him who can start. And he's got the hype. He's got the potential. He's the 5-star plus former quarterback who went to Oklahoma and wasn't able to successfully, win at Oklahoma. So, yeah, Jackson Arnold at my number 2 spot on this list. I don't really think I had these numbered anyway, so I don't know if it really matters if I have numbered. But lastly on my list is Damari Alston. So Damari was the easy choice for me to put in the top spot here, or to be the most talked about. So Damari is now going into, I believe, his senior year, and he's not been the number one back since he's gotten to Auburn. He's gotten a few games where he started because of injuries, but Jarquez Hunter has typically been the starter throughout his entire time here. I think he maybe had 1 year where him and Tank Bigsby kind of meshed, but regardless, you have not gotten a lot of Damari Alston. Jarquez Hunter now going to the NFL, going to have a great career there. Behind Damari is, of course, Jeremiah Cobb. You have Alvin Henderson. You have Darrell Robinson. You got a stable of backs who can all step in and take the heavy load of carries. Damari Alston, though, is your starting running back. He's worked for it his entire career. He was a former 3-star guy who, worked his way up. He's now a big name in the Auburn offense. But how will he perform in his first year as he's starting running back? It's just not. It's something that we saw when Tank left and Jarquez took off. Is we had the moments of Quez where we were like, oh, yeah, this guy's up next. This guy's got it up next. And, of course, Damari's had those moments. He's had moments where you're like, oh, well, I can't wait to see what Damari can do whenever he gets to the carries that Quez got, or whenever he gets the looks that Quez does, whenever plays are built around Damari instead of him just kind of being the emergency target there. But, Damari, again, a lot of talent for Damari, but can he, with his first year as a starter, can he keep the other guys at bay? He has to make sure that Jeremiah Cobb doesn't get any more carries because Jeremiah will be obviously taking the Damari Alston spot in the halfback too. And then Darrell and Alvin Henderson will be shortly after that. And, of course, Omar, I'm blanking on names right now. The guy at Auburn, of course, will also probably get a few looks as well if because he moved up from the class 2026 to the class of 25, and now I'm just blanking on his name completely, and I hate it because I just didn't plan on talking about it. Because I mean, even I don't think the freshman guys might. I don't even think they'll really even get a chance to really play this year. You'll probably get both those guys. And I hate that I'm blanking on it. Oh Lord, he's not even on the roster yet, is he? Okay, now I'm gonna pause for a second and get this. Yeah, so Omar Mapson is his name. I knew it would start with an M, and I kept saying my brain kept saying Magby, and that's a Pokemon. that's where my brain was. So yeah, Omar Mapson and Alvin Henderson, I believe, are going to be redshirted going into this year, and of course, we'll get the more carries going into the next season because you have guys like Damari who are going in their senior year, might be the last year in their career in an Auburn uniform. Of course, you're going to get Jeremiah Cobb, who's going in his junior year for the Tigers. Darrell Robinson is going into his sophomore year. So you're going to have a stable of another stable backs next year. But Damari Alston, of course, I mean, he's going to get your bulk. He's going to be your workhorse guy. And has he shown what it takes he can be a workhorse? Jury's still out. But I think Damari has enough talent to really prove that he can be that guy going forward. And spring practice, of course, being right around the corner, you're going to see a chance for all of these guys to really show out and showcase what they can be for Auburn in 2025. So that being said, that's going to do it for the football conversation. Of course, stay tuned for basketball right after the break. But just let me know, who do you think has the most to prove in 2025 for Auburn, for the Auburn football team? Of course, I almost put a coach on this list. I almost put Hugh Freeze on here, but I thought I'd keep it to the players. I think it's too obvious that Hugh Freeze has a lot to prove in this season. So let me know who you think on the Auburn football team has the most to prove going into the next season. I'm just blanking on words coming up this season. So we're going to go quick little break. Other side of this break, Auburn basketball takes on Ole Miss on Wednesday. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. And of course, available on thewarreport.com, second page of the shop, you'll find both college loop merch items, the shirt and the hat, both comfortable items you'll wear in your entire life. So check those out today. Of course, there's only one way to support the channel. Of course, the best way to support the channel is, of course, by liking, by commenting, and by subscribing. Again, leave your thoughts. Who has the most approved for Auburn football in 2025? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe as well. Getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. Be super cool to reach that very soon. I'm so thankful for every single one of you, all 940 of y'all, of my closest friends and family. So shout out to all of y'all. Y'all make everything possible over here at the College Loop. So Auburn basketball back on our televisions in the midweek, Wednesday. So tomorrow, at 6:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, the Auburn Tigers, #1 team in the land for the 7th week in a row, which, I mean, just keep adding to that record. We'll take on Ole Miss, who has since dropped out of the top 25. Of course, they were number 23 when Auburn played them last, about 6 games ago. Auburn won that matchup 92-82, thanks to the entire starting lineup getting double-digit points, and then Todd Pettiford almost getting into that as well. So you almost had 6 Tigers score double-digit points. So what did Ole Miss do to Auburn last time they played? They scored pretty well. I mean, 82 points. They shot well from the 3-point line, 31%, 6 of 19. From the field, 46%. It was just a game where Auburn had it from the get-go. Auburn shot 14 of 28 in that game from the 3-point line, which is absolutely ridiculous, especially looking at how Auburn's offense has played since then. Auburn tore up Ole Miss's defense, passing the ball around, 22 assists in this game, 41 rebounds to Ole Miss's 30. It was just a game where Auburn was at their best. And, can they continue to play like that again with this game being in Neville Arena? Of course, the last one was in the Pavilion. Jury's out. Ole Miss is not a team to ignore. I mean, despite their not being top 25, I mean, this is still a very quality win if Auburn pulls it out. But Ole Miss, of course, they've dealt with some losses as of late. They're off on a 2-game skid. They lost to Mississippi State by 10. They lost to Vanderbilt by 5. I mean, they're a team that, they've lost 2 games in a row. I mean, that's the best you can say that. But they're still a team that can do some damage. They beat Kentucky a few weeks ago. So not a team to bat an eye about. Auburn will have to play the same way they did against Ole Miss last time. You got to find a cure for the offense Auburn has been playing with. I mean, it is laughable in the sense of, why am I watching the number 1 team in the country struggle to score? I mean, the defense is playing great. The offense is leaving a lot to be desired. There are shots being taken that shouldn't be taken at all. There are just missed shot opportunities. You're just not making great plays. You're not making the shots you need to make. And, I mean, this team has there's very few weaknesses in this team's game to where this is not a front runner for the national championship. But when they get these mid-game slumps and they start just throwing up shots to throw up shots, they start trying to live and die by the 3-point line, which is not what this team is built around. I mean, yeah, they're open for the occasional heat check for Miles Kelly or Todd Pettiford, fakes right and jumps left and drills a 3 to silence a crowd. But this team is not made to shoot 33s a game. They're just not. And I mean, at times it becomes a little bit annoying to see this team struggle to score, because you're like, okay, well, I know that you can put up 90 a game. But as of late, Auburn's not been doing that. I mean, last time put up 90 was against Alabama, but before then it was Florida. It's way before Florida. I was about to say Florida, but that was Florida that put up 90. Excuse me. Last time I put up 90 was, of course, against Oklahoma, and that was February 4th. Not counting Alabama. So 2 times in the past 6-7 games. Of course, he put up 82 versus Georgia. And Janai Broome put up 31 points, which he had to do in order for Auburn to take over the game like they did. You're going to live and die through Janai Broome. You need Janai to have a great game, but also you need some other guys to step in there as well. Just consistent shots need to be taken. I mean, look at the last time Auburn played Ole Miss. Janai had 20 points in that game. He had 12 rebounds. Dylan Cardwell had 10 points and 13 rebounds, which is ridiculous. He also shot 4 or 5 from the free throw line, which is also just crazy to think about. Chad Vicker-Mazzara, 6 of 10, efficient day shooting, 18 points. Denver Jones, 5 for 11, 16 points. Miles Kelly, 4 for 8, 3 of 6 from the 3-point line, 15 points. Chaney Johnson did not have a great game, but also that's before he became a vital part of the Auburn offense, and he only shot the ball 3 times. And made one of them for 2 points. Todd Pettiford, 3 of 7 for 9 points. I mean, you got to play efficiently. Whenever you're this good of a team, whenever you're ranked as highly as Auburn is for 7 weeks in a row, and throughout the whole season, really, Auburn's been in the top 5 at the bare minimum. You got to play consistently. You got to watch out for Sean Padula, who put up 29 last time Auburn saw him. Matthew Murrell, also another guy to look out for. Both these guys led Ole Miss in scoring last time around. But you can't let Ole Miss stay in this game. And going forward, I mean, you might have I think if someone said if Auburn wins 2 more games, they clinch the SEC regular season title. Ole Miss is tomorrow. Kentucky is Saturday. Go ahead and clinch it before the Iron Bowl on March 4th. Clinch it before then. Please. But yeah, I'm just it's just annoying that it happens. I think Auburn's gonna win this game. I mean, it's hard for me to ever pick against Auburn, whenever how good they've looked all season long. But it just gets very annoying that at times they just get into these slumps. That it's not even like they're getting forced into. It's like they're putting themselves into. But regardless, I'm gonna pick Auburn to win this game. I'm gonna say Auburn wins. I'm gonna say 80-72. Give an 8-point win. A little bit different of a kind of mix. I just realized it kind of matches if you flip the ones over from the Georgia game, but Auburn still got something to prove going forward. Consistently play basketball for 40 minutes. That's all I ask. That's going to do for the installment of the College Loop podcast. Of course, stay tuned for this evening. Auburn baseball takes on Sanford, I believe. And of course, stay tuned for the Thursday edition of the College Loop. I'm thinking I have something planned for that one. Thinking about doing an all-decade team for Auburn football, the 2010s at least. So let me know who you think I should put in the top in the lineup for the Auburn all-decade team of the 2010s. Of course, I mean, there's some guys that I probably missed offensive line-wise. But with that being said, thanks for watching this of the College Loop podcast. Of course, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all those at the College Loop. And of course, audio versions of the show as well, Spotify podcast, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, but also right here on YouTube. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Who has the most proof for Auburn football, in your opinion? And that being said, thanks for watching yet again. And as always, War Eagle.